Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Make Love Easy podcast, where we are helping successful men create the love, sex, romance, intimacy, dates, and relationships that they desire with ease, grace, speed, and alignment. Today, I have the great privilege, pleasure, and honor of having a kindred soul on. There's so much we can talk about. Olivia Pavlov, massively powerful 7-year veteran of sex and intimacy coaching. Hello and welcome. How's it going?
Thank you. It's so good to be here with you. I'm grateful for this chance to share and connect.
Mm.
Mhm.
So tell me, what's your journey that had you become an expert around all of this, or skilled in the ways that you are?
Mhm. My take one, I call it my plan A of life, was that I was a college professor and a data analyst.
Mm.
And so I studied psychology and really took this route of taking the advice of all the people around me. People said, "You're smart. You should get a PhD. You could be a great professor." I married a professor. He was like, "Well, you should be a professor too, and then we'll get summers off and we can live our dream." And so I just followed that path until my body shut down. And that was about 8 years ago now. My thyroid basically just stopped working. And that was my wake up call to really look at, okay, what's going on here? Where have I gone off track? And I set out on a quest to find what would bring me joy in life. What was I drawn to? What was I curious about? And the answers came pretty naturally. Like the moment that I just said, okay, if I just do, all right, that was take one of life. None of that seems to be working for me. Being a professor, working in an office, owning a house, owning multiple cars, being married to the person I was married to. I was like, okay, that's take one. And I think I just have to do fresh start, take two. So by chance, a good friend of mine invited me to come down to Austin, which is where I am now, where I live now. And he introduced me to everything that kind of seeded what my life is now. He introduced me to my first tantra teacher. He said, "You should come check out this thing called ecstatic dance." He said, "You should do Landmark." I don't know if you're familiar with Landmark. Have you done Landmark?
The Introduction Leaders Program.
Introduction. Me too. Yeah. So I was an
Oh,
introduction leader. Yeah.
we should- that's the coolest thing. Let's jam on that later. That's awesome.
Yeah. So thanks to this friend, his name's John. He just kind of, he just fed me these tidbits and said, "You should go check out all these things." And he was a friend of mine from high school, and I just trusted his advice. And sure enough, that really planted the seed that there was this juncture of tantra, working with the body, working with sexuality, personal development, and enjoying my life, right, and movement. And as I started to weave all those things together, very naturally people were starting to come to me and talk about relationships. And as you know, from being in the introduction leaders program, you get to offer a lot of free coaching while you're in that program. And I would just, ask people, what area of life do you want to talk to me about? What's going on? Where are you dissatisfied? Time and time again, relationships, sexuality, intimacy, relationships, sexuality, intimacy. And that was my training ground. That was my starting point. And now the way that I see it is that our own relationship with our sexuality is like a fractal, like a mirror, like a reflection of our relationship with our whole life. And so if we're dissatisfied in that kind of base foundational place, right? If our sex and our intimacy and our love is not working the way we want it to, that'll show up as dissatisfaction also with our career, with where we live, or how we feel when we wake up in the morning. And so that, just really kept being the truth for me, and kept leading me back to looking at, well, what's the most foundational place I can start with people to create an overall shift towards what they really want.
Wow. I'm both astounded that someone this cool could live this close to me with this much in common and me not know that you exist. or know you at all, really. Yet,
Mm-hmm.
I'm delighted to be getting to know you. And yeah, so what are the gold nuggets if you had for men Because obviously it sounds like primarily you are working with men, yes? Or
So it's an interesting question. I would say I've worked with over 400 men so far in the last 7 years. I keep really detailed statistics. I used to be a data analyst, as I said, so
cool.
I keep track of all these things. And interestingly, only in the last, I would say, 2 years, really during this COVID time period, did more women start to come into my life. So I work with men and women, and my specialty or my expertise up to the last few years really was around men and men's sexuality. And so yeah, that's to answer your question.
Excellent. What what would you say they most need to know, those men that you know?
Hmm. 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 Yeah, I'm reflecting on the conversation I had this morning with a former client of mine, and he said, "Oh, right." He goes, "I could use that reminder over and over and over again." So what I said was, your sexuality is way more than just a source of pleasure or this thing that you have to manage or figure out how to deal with. That your sexuality, your sexual energy is literally the thing that creates your whole entire life. It's the driving force behind not just the choices you make about your sexuality and about your partnerships, but behind everything. And if you can start to grasp that, if you can start to see your sexuality as something that's actually propelling you forward in your life, as a natural motivator, as a thing that can bring wellness and well-being to you, it's a game changer. Mhm.
Incredible. I used to say at our Empowering Austin Now conscious sex and intimacy events that the energy of Svadhisthana, that the sacral chakra, is also about abundance and creativity. And I can totally hear echoes of that in your articulation.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
So how does one cultivate, well, how does a man cultivate a thriving, flourishing relationship with that energy?
Yeah. First thing I would say is one of my favorite phrases from my teacher. His name's Ed. He says, "We are what we practice." So we are what we practice. And that would be the place to start looking at what are you practicing? Like what are you actually doing with your sexuality in your daily life? And with a lot of things, that's really the starting point is just to like take stock, take an honest look at it and see, right? Open your eyes with to see what you're actually doing and what that relationship looks like and where is it working for you? Where is it not? Where are there behaviors that you're doing, whatever they are, that you're not feeling good about, right? That's typically the starting point. There's things to clean up with ourselves, clean up with others, and that can be hard, right? That's a hard thing to look at ourselves honestly in any area of life, much less look at ourselves honestly in sexuality, which is something that for most of us feels very hidden, very closed doors. Nobody should ever know about whatever's going on in your sexuality, right? And it's like, oh, you want me to take a look at that? Okay, right. So that's, I would say, the first place to start. And then the second place from that is however it's possible to start to get some reference points to feeling pleasure beyond just heading 0 to 60 for an ejaculation, right? So that's a big project, big step, big project, but there's a lot of ways to get those reference points. So working with a sex and intimacy coach, working with a tantric healer, doing a breathwork practice, slowing down, taking some time to just touch your whole body, start to explore your physical body with your hands beyond just your genitals. There's a lot of ways to get that reference point, but I think once people start to have that, oh, there's pleasure beyond just this thing I've been trying to get to every time, this goal of this explosion, right? Then that's that shift that can start to open up. Okay, wait, what is this energy for? What's going on here? What is possible beyond just this well-worn dirt road that I've been taking for the last 10, 20, 50 years of my life with my sexuality? Mhm.
Mm. Self-awareness
It's
in hearing. Yeah, go
it's
ahead.
really it's really like it's really almost too big of a question. You're like, how can people get that reference point? It's like take the honest look and then start to explore your body. That's if you want to try to wrap it up. Smaller packages.
No pun intended for our men. So I love this. I'm just going to use myself as a guinea pig, right? And sort of proffer where I hear myself in this conversation. Um, so a couple things, even in partnership, even after massive training, we were talking about how we both trained in ILP, like that's all about self-expression. And it's all about like wherever I'm being inauthentic or wherever I'm hiding or something, being willing to shine a flashlight on that in service of uplifting and contributing to others. And so I was literally in bed with my beloved, and we had sort of flirtatiously planned to have sex. When I saw her yesterday, it was like, all right, tomorrow. And this morning, I self-pleasured, and I was kind of like in this space of like, uh-oh, I've got to build up all that jing, build up all that sexual energy again, because I know that there's an expectation here. And then we're talking, and I find out, oh, and she self-pleasured as well. So it was like, okay, we were in alignment, but there was still this energy of kind of hiding out trepidation, not wanting to create a false expectation or break the implied integrity of my word around here's what's going to happen tomorrow. And there's such an interesting flow of like masculine and feminine integrity inside of sexuality, like the masculine integrity of like consent and communication and clean containers and expectations and agreements, creating a backdrop, but then also in the moment. And I hear this as an access point for like sexuality and that use of that sexual energy. How we do anything is how we do everything. Like if somebody is not fully tapped in and tuned in to their embodied wisdom and what their turn on is in the moment, then they're leaving something on the table in terms of pleasure, in terms of fulfillment, in terms of probably dharmic destiny and who they're meant to be for the world. So like, how do you navigate, or how do you help people navigate between that more masculine pole and the more feminine pole in engaging with and holding a space for themselves? Because it's like it's a real holistic kind of in the moment phenomenon, and it's best. I mean, we're trained by culture that it's best as well when it's spontaneous, when it's like our body is waking up. And this even so one last thing, I know this is a little dense question, but I always loved the experience of being taken out of control by the beauty or desirability of a woman. And that was my primary like practice with porn for the longest time, is I would get turned on until the point where I just couldn't bear it. And this like evolutionary like impelling would compel me, and then I'd have an orgasm. And I'm still dealing with that programming after like 15-20 years, like you were saying, of that well-worn dirt road. But yeah, any reflections on all of this?
There's so much there. There's so much there. Um, I want to reflect on this, like your question of how do you balance the masculine integrity of like, okay, we said we're going to show up and have sex. Now what? Right? Versus the feminine integrity of you might be tired, or maybe you accidentally came in your self pleasure practice and now you can't get an erection again, or like, all these different factors. So, um, I'll say my top recommendation for couples, and this comes from a book by Jordan Peterson called Beyond Order. It's chapter 12, I think. It's all about relationship and couples. And it's some of the best advice to have at minimum, if you can, like 3 dates a week, and have two of those dates be intimate dates and have one of them be like your catch up date. You talk about the bills, you talk about when are we going to see each other, you talk about what's on your calendars, right? But like actually having scheduled dates is a game changer for most couples. And what I hear, and my own experience too, is that, oh, but isn't it just great when you just walk into the kitchen and then you're both turned on and then you've been somebody's like something happens. Yes, it's great. And that can happen too. But if you're not scheduling those regular sex dates, it actually doesn't provide the structure for you to both be in that feminine flow, right? It's this structure is holding both of you so that both of you can show up and relax into these moments. So it's not just for the woman, right? It's not just for the feminine. It's actually for that feminine part of both of you to know that you can count on each other to show up in those dates. And what I would say is like to release any expectation around penetration, right? To the best that you can. And to communicate your desires honestly, right? To show up and one of my favorite tools is called a DFB, desires, fears, and boundaries. Do you know that one?
Now I do. Let's do it.
It's great. Desires, fears, and boundaries. So when you show up to those sex dates, briefly, you can somehow introduce this communication structure to your beloved, to your partner, or just say, hey, let's try a new thing. Let's talk about our desires, our fears, and our boundaries for today, right? So your desire might be, my desire would be to feel really connected. My desire would be to have sex, to actually have penetration. My desire would be to feel expansive and free together. But it's not in me. It's not like it has to happen, right? It's a desire. My fears are, I don't know where you're at in your cycle. I'm not sure. I'm actually concerned because I self-pleasured earlier. Now I'm feeling kind of tired. And my boundaries would be, I really need to go in 2 hours. Like I really only have 2 hours because I have a meeting. And so I need to make sure we wrap up for me to get to my meeting. Right. Or, I feel like I'm actually just not up for having actual sex today, but I'm up for playing in every other way. Right. It's actually just voicing where you're at that day in that moment at that time. And so that's that, creating that masculine structure, and then the feminine, you show up inside of that and you get to be in a dance, you get to be in that co-creation together, hearing both people's desires, fears, boundaries, then you just kind of flow with that. Yeah.
There's so much in that. I really appreciate it. The first piece that I resonate with is you really must have been a committed, like thrilled academic back in the day. Yeah, to know Jordan Peterson. Um, and then I love that proposal because it's like an in the moment interview. It's like an expected space for communication and connection around what's live.
Mhm, mhm,
So the river banks allow there to be a space for the river to flow through, however it's going to flow. It's so cool.
mhm, mhm.
Um, when it comes to
Can I
like,
say one more? Can I say one more thing?
yeah, absolutely.
A lot of this is also, as you might remember, like when you were learning to ride your bike and you had training wheels, right? You needed a lot more structure and a lot more stability so you can get the hang of riding the bike, right? And a lot of this is like that. A lot of these tools are over communication or over structuring. So you get the habit, right? It's like after a few months or a year of doing 3 date nights a week, like you're going to just be in the flow of that, right? Or after training your partner to show up and communicate where you're at, you might not need to do the full DFB. You might just say, I'm so glad to see you. This is where I'm at tonight. And then it becomes more organic, becomes more natural. It's just, we can err on the side of over structuring and over communicating when we want to make these big shifts towards our satisfaction.
Hmm. I love that too. See, it looked for a moment like it was a preeminent of the masculine, of the like structural, and then you corrected it by turning it into this beautiful yin yang, where it's like, all right, so that's there, but it's meant to eventually be integrated into the flow of just how you express and part of what's available for you. So I love that. And it's interesting as well, the desires, fears, boundaries, in order for that to remain clean, like it's almost even implied to me that someone is cultivating their own self-pleasure, sexual need fulfillment practice that is completely independent of the existence or collaboration of their partner. And the more I talk to people like yourself, the more I get this strong sense that foundation, that's like the fundamental thing. And we'll get to like where I'm at with that is kind of a checkerboard. But I'm curious, would you say that cultivating a self-pleasure practice is really key to ultimate sexual and or what we could say existential and spiritual fulfillment as well?
I would say it's absolutely key. It's absolutely key. And you know, even more important than like, are you physically having a daily genital stimulation practice is like a daily self-connection practice, right? Because you may or may not need that stimulation daily, right? Whether you're in a male body or a female body, that desire may or may not be there, right? But connecting to yourself and really having a moment to reflect on what's going on inside of you and like, what are you needing? Are you needing physical stimulation? Are you needing to actually go work out at the gym? Are you needing to sit in silent meditation? Do you need to lie down on the floor and cry, right? It's like this depth of connection that we can cultivate with ourselves is the depth of connection that we can have with another person. And so that that dance, I think, is absolutely essential. And a lot of wonderful practices like silent seated meditation only scratch one itch, you know. And so it's I really am a big proponent of like self-listening practice, like tuning in and self-listening. And then do you want to self-pleasure? Do you want to silent meditate? Do you and but really looking at like, is your bodily need being met? Is your spiritual soul need being met? And is your mental need being met? Like, are you engaged in your life? Are you doing what your body needs, which is either moving less or moving more, you know, creating sexual gratification, or maybe you need a smoothie, right? And then are you connected to whatever your interpretation of soul and spirit is? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is so good. What you're painting is the subtleties of sort of the flow of divine masculine and divine feminine within the realm of self-care is the way that I would distinguish it. And this gets into kind of the sticky wicket of where I have been at, both in sexuality and in self-care, actually. I noticed several years ago that if I did certain activities, I was properly configured. Like I wouldn't be a jerk or an asshole because I'd taken care of myself. So it was like yoga and meditation every morning. And that really served and supported me. And I find that it still does structurally, but it's also boring and a well-worn dirt road, to use our thematic here. And I've often considered, well, let me do qigong, let me do dance, and sort of shifted pieces and parts. Even, getting trained as a yoga teacher so that I know what the hell I'm doing rather than just what I remember. And it sort of is a correlative match for the self-care around sexuality. Like what I trained myself in for years was, okay, your needs are to be satisfied through pornography. And I've come to the place where the energetics of most pornography is not resonant with my heart and takes me out of my actually intuitively guided flow. So I think it's, again, this dance between masculine and feminine, because my mind has made up certain stories based on observations from the past that it is now putting in our future, or in my future, quoting the introduction for a moment. And it serves, but it's like a very base level of service. It's like, this is better than doing nothing, but it's certainly not thriving or flourishing. It's like a minimum viable. And I mean, I guess that's better than a lot of people on the planet who are not engaged in any self-care, self-listening, or self-connection practice at all. like to cultivate a space where some tools are used, and I don't know if you know David Hawkins' scale of vibration and different emotions. It's like neutrality, like borderline courage, but it's not love, peace, and joy. It's like, okay, I can handle things. So I don't know. I don't know if I have a specific question here, but I'd love to hear your reflections on how to cultivate the maximally nourishing self relationship in sexuality as a reflection of the whole life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My real thought with this is that there's a different answer for every individual person, which is it's a hard one, right? But I'm a big believer that like we each need our own amount of water for the day. We each need our own amount of physical movement. We each need our own amount of sex. And there isn't there it just doesn't work for me to try to say like this is the thing or this is the way, right? But I want to comment about porn and the relationship with porn, just because I think it's such and I've experienced it to be such a prevalent question and pain point actually for a lot of people. You know, you would think like, no, it's actually bringing all this pleasure, but for a lot of men, it's really a challenge and a struggle. And so this is the way that I see the relationship with porn and with pleasure, and it's a question of like, do you need something outside of yourself to feel turned on, aroused, and satisfied, right? And honestly, it's not so different if it's a ding. I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know Laurie Handlers? Do you know who Laurie Handlers is?
Oh, I do.
She's an ISTA facilitator and also used to be very deep in the Landmark as well. She was a seminar leader in the New York Center.
Wow.
Anyway, she has one of those little bells where you ding at the hotel desk for service. You know, you go up and it ding, it's a little button on the top. She takes one of those to all her trainings with her, and when someone says something brilliant in a training, they get a ding. So you got a light bulb.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in case people didn't see that this is what
it
happened.
is.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know, it's not so different really. Do you need to have a visual video of people having sex or doing whatever they're doing? Or even do you feel that you need a person, a partner, right? Do you need that other to be physically touching you to feel turned on? Do you need a drink of alcohol? Do you need to have smoked that joint, right? It's like there's this do are we putting our sexuality as something outside of ourselves, right? And this is where it relates to actually to this piece of power, right? If we see this thing that gets you hard as the same thing that beats your heart, as the same thing that gives you the idea for this Make Love Easy podcast, right? It's like, are you giving that away? Are you sending it out? Are you actually giving it to your computer screen? Or is it within you, right? Is that power, is that aliveness actually within you? And that journey of learning how to turn yourself on for most men, literally, and all these analogies, right? I love that you have a light bulb, right? Turning on,
Mhm.
right? And power. There's a whole map of analogies to a power grid, right? And so it's like, are you able to plug into yourself, turn yourself on, or do you need to plug into an external source, right? And that journey is so challenging and so hard. And I had to go on that journey myself. For me, basically, I was just the light switch was off. It didn't matter if someone else was there with me or not. My sexuality, the light switch was just off. And I really had to do the daily effort of showing up to spend time with my body to learn what did I need to do to turn on. So I know it's challenging and hard, but the my favorite tool, my favorite exercise, if you're trying to break away from using porn, is to find your inner feminine. If you're a man, if you're in a male body, to go on a journey to find who is your inner feminine, right? What does she look like? Is she from another country? What does she wear? Like, go on a huge fantasy journey for yourself to find what is your inner feminine, right? And we all have, yeah, you want to say something?
I just was remembering Aleister
Yeah.
Crowley's journals about using mescaline. He encountered an anima, like the
Yeah.
Jungian version of
Yeah.
him. I don't know if you know any of what
Yeah.
I'm talking about
I
there.
do.
Oh, that's
Yes,
so cool. Okay.
of course.
Um,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
I was like, all right, so I'm picturing myself, but a feminine version of me that I carry with
Yeah.
me that I'm then ravishing when I'm engaged
Yes.
in pleasure or something.
Exactly.
How
Exactly.
weird and fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you find, and I'll circle back to give a bit of a higher level, but I want to just follow where this is going right now. So when you are ravishing that internal feminine that's actually you, the power is all here. It's not going outward. It's not going away. You're not dependent on something else or sending your energy to something else. It's in you. You're cultivating and growing something inside yourself. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It appears without, though it is within.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So just to kind of break it down, if people are like, "What? My inner feminine? Like what? Like I don't has that is that something that's already come up on the discussion on the show? No,
Never
not
heard
much.
that
So
before in your,
yeah,
it's a new distinction and much appreciated. Yeah.
great. Yeah. So if I appear and present in a feminine female woman body, right? But if I only had feminine traits, my house would be a wreck. I would not know where my bills were at. I wouldn't be keeping track of when to take out the garbage, right? My inner masculine helps me to function, have structure in my own daily life. I don't depend on my boyfriend to do all those masculine things for me, right? I have to have some of those traits myself, or not, right? It's up to me. But if I want things to flow in my life, that's what supports me, right? It's how I know how many clients I've seen. My inner masculine is keeping track of those things. And so, likewise, if you're in a man's body, in a male body, there's moments that you want to get up and dance to a song, or you desire to make a beautiful creative meal, or you just feel like really laying on the couch and kind of drifting off into outer space and doing nothing, or you want to be taken care of, or even this part that you said of like, you want to feel out of control, you want to feel something controlling you, right? Those are all inner feminine with inner feminine characteristics. And so to make it easy to experience and understand, I like to have this invitation of like sit down, go on a meditation and imagine that you walk into a field or walk out to the beach and you're going to meet your inner other. You're going to meet your inner masculine or your inner feminine, right? And allow someone to come and present themselves to you. And so like for me, if I'm really visualizing my inner masculine, he's actually French. His name is Jacques. He used to be an artist. Now he's owning a business. He's like making a retreat center where he's producing his art. Like I have like a whole relationship to this inner other character, and I've known him over time now, right? Uh, so that can be a beautiful place to start. And then in a moment, where I'm feeling like, oh, I need my boyfriend to come love me and hug me, and he's not showing. I can imagine my inner masculine coming to hold me or embrace me or call upon him in a pleasure. So yeah, but
So fascinating. I Do you have a course on that? Because if you
I
don't, you
have a sound. I know it's coming. It's actually coming, but I have a SoundCloud free meditation on it. So if you look up Olivia Pavlov on SoundCloud, there's a free meditation to go on that journey.
so
Yeah.
great.
I
Mass.
also feel it's so important that like anybody who asks me this question, I just want to be able to give them that resource. Mhm.
Yeah, I'm gonna go post landmark nerd for a second. So what you and I are both trained in distinguishing, and it's funny how much you are making present in this conversation and making available that could have fallen out of certain distinctions that I already possess if I really sort of shined them like a flashlight onto this area. Like one such distinction is codependence, this idea that if we think we need something or someone to be some way outside of us in order for us to be happy or fulfilled, that's just codependence, and it is to be noticed and let go of, right? And sexuality, I'd never thought through. Pornography is training us to be codependent with the presence of a certain stimuli. And of course, those people who want to market and sell us more shit are programming us to throw our sexual energy away in patterned ways that are not serving the holistic expression of that energy, like stimulation, penetration, orgasm, right, as a very linear sort of pathway. And then we get to women, and the full, I don't know if you're familiar with the work of One Taste at all.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So yeah, the ultimate power of orgasm in women, like, of course that gets stifled when a man brings his pre-programmed pornographic brain into an actual relating, rather than cultivating this more tantric style of like heightening of pleasure and experience and embodied desire and the authority of embodied desire. And there's just so much here. So yeah, thank you for shining the flashlight of these things.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to riff off that and really take it bigger picture for a moment, because it's like, well, why is that stifling happening? Why is that stifling present within religion, within the porn industry, within our cultural, relationship to sexuality? Also, as you see, sitting out in my backyard and the garbage trucks going by. I don't know how good these headphones are doing at drowning that out.
I don't hear it. It's fine. Yeah.
Oh yeah, great headphones for the win. They're always saving my ass. So yeah, why is that stifling so prevalent in the world? And I really believe that it comes back to a lot of, if you look at the work of Buckminster Fuller, I'm sure you're familiar with, right? He was one of the big people committed to having a world that works for 100% of people.
Yep.
And he has these great approaches of like, we actually cannot try to change and shift and override and redirect the flow of what's going on with humanity. His approach was, we need to build a new world on top of that, that's so much more effective, that does work for everyone, that we just lose interest in this old way of doing money and the economy and working jobs we hate and having unfulfilling lives and not having enough farm produce and all of that, right? And it's not actually outside the reach of what's possible, but it does take, I think, people being fully in their power. It does take having the motivation and the creative juice to actually be like, okay, could we do that? Could that be possible? And when we stay plugged in to that original design where we just show up to our 9 to 5 and come home and masturbate and come all over our computer and then eat a pizza and then go on an unfulfilling date, it's like we don't have energy and resource to ponder, how could we build something better, And so it's all so connected to this, like, why is that power stifled and what are we going to do with it when we come in touch with it? It's like, this is my repeated question for myself, is like, how can I actually make that impact? Like, where can I share the aliveness that I now have? And it's like, showing up here is a beautiful place to do it, but like, there's just so much more that's required. And so it's daunting. And I think that's why it's so much easier to just stay asleep.
Yeah, how radical is that? I mean, like, what you just pointed to is what's at stake in forging that maximally thriving and flourishing relationship with one's sexual energy, with one's sexuality. It's like what we're all working on underneath that is that world that works for everyone with no one and nothing left out from love.
Yeah.
And and that's beautiful, by the way. I adore that. This is just such a cool idea. It's like, what a great reminder. Also, witch. That was fun to notice. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, witch.
Yeah. It actually says, pussy to the earth, I am a witch. Or the hidden message I didn't know when I got it just says pussy witch. And then you'll like this one. This is my other arm. I am my word. My word creates my world.
Oh yeah, that's incredible. It's interesting.
Those are all my reminders. I need them all the time. That's why they're there.
100%. Yeah. It's funny too, because in sacred body language translations, this is the masculine, the right side. So like, this is what you're embodying, giving to the world, and then what you're receiving sort of from the world, where you're fundamentally in reaction to like a principle of what is so, like this is what's so, the new model of communication, right? And you know, for those of you who are listening, who are maybe picking up some things but not getting them fully, go do landmark, go do as much landmark as you can, until your body says fuck no, because there are moments where you should definitely eject from that journey. But to each their own. I used to joke that everybody should get a license to be human, and you should get it from doing the landmark forum and the advanced course. I'm not that contemptuously condescending anymore, but now it's Awaken Life Live. Everybody should do Awaken Life Live, and that's the the integration of emotional and spiritual intelligence with the best of what Landmark Decision gives. Anyway, I like to add value to my guests, and that's a little gold nugget for you.
Yeah, it is. I heard about Landmark originally on a podcast, so it's, you know, we're just passing it on. Yep.
Well, I'm officially inaugurating you into awareness of Earthwaking University, which is like, it's what I always wanted Landmark to be. And Landmark is still amazing for what it does. There's nobody on the planet that does what it does. From the neck up, it's the best transformational system available. And that we could have that whole conversation too. But bringing it back to sexuality, it's this unleashing of full human potential that's available, and our full power and our authority to express from our desire and our embodied intuitive wisdom that is at stake. And when we look at that, it becomes difficult to not want to throw yourself wholeheartedly into like, what does it take? And let me do the measures of figuring out like what is my unique amount of sex per day, and how do I give that to myself? And so I mean, like, if there was a self-investigation project or process, because you said like find out for yourself, discover for yourself, how would you go about it if you were telling somebody to, all right, like observe yourself when you get sexually craving, and also how to determine that? I've been meaning to ask this the whole time, from like the stories and habits that happen to be rattling around in the head, the samskaras of like old patterns of just, oh, I'm horny, so I go to porn, or I expect to be horny once to 3 times a week. Like for me, if I really put effort and attention into it, I find that ejaculatory orgasm, it's only best like once every 10 to 15 days, right? And that fits with Taoist wisdom from like orgasmic man and stuff. But my programming is so strong that I'm more than likely, you know, every time I see my hot girlfriend, painting in the background this whole time. She's just enjoying it. Yeah. So how would you recommend for somebody to cultivate the authenticity of that relationship and that awareness in isolation programming, and start distinguishing between those?
Yeah, my 2 answers that come up are, again, back to a commitment to like a daily listening to yourself practice, checking in. So, you know, I know a lot of people don't have a luxury of having hours a day to just do whatever they please. And so it doesn't have to be like that. It's really, I like to invite this to be something you do before you leave the house for work, or before you sit down and start getting into your emails for the day if you work at home. It's like, can you take at minimum 10 to 15 minutes and check in? And really just like, if you start to ask yourself that question every day, what am I needing and wanting right now about my sexuality, right? It's like your body may be numb at first. It might be hard to hear, but eventually you'll start to get an answer. And then when you start to give that to yourself, you develop trust, right? There's so that's my starting point. My second comment, question, whatever, is to find a coach, find a tantric healer, find another guy in your life who is interested in discussing these things, because it's so much easier not to do it on our own. Like it's so hard and challenging to take this on your own. And I don't think we're meant to do this alone. Like I think there's wisdom, there's ideas, there's normalization, there's permission, like whatever, all these things come in when you can find someone else to discuss this with, to support you. And this, I like to say, another one of my favorite things to talk about is that the same way we all kind of caught on to like yoga, meditation, healthy eating, right? Like if you rewind 20 years ago, 2000, right? Not, it wasn't that big of a thing. Like maybe some people were meditating, doing yoga, eating healthy here and there, right? But now you go to a Starbucks, ask somebody, have you ever been to a yoga class? Like it's widespread that those are understood as good ways to take care of yourself, feel good, live a good life. I believe that sexuality is the next wave that we're going to catch on, that sexuality as a tool for transformation, healing, and growth, right? If in 10 years, if you walk into a Starbucks and say, hey, have you ever gone to a sacred sexuality workshop, or have you ever seen a tantric healer, right? It's going to be similarly caught on, I believe, by that time. So if you're on an earlier end of this wave, right? There's our teachers and our predecessors have been working this for a while, but you're on the early end of it. And so this industry of supporting like sex and intimacy coaches and sexual healers is also, why not take advantage of the expertise and the care that's available? That's, yeah.
That is so nourishing and so refreshing and so enlightening and illuminating on so many levels, not least of which is the business development side, because we have
Yeah.
a 6-week program we just started, and high aspirations and enthusiastic creation. So, I mean, what is it? Tony Robbins says the self-development world, self-education is growing hugely. And to hear from you, a veteran from this space, that it's going to be growing even huger in this particular area, that's so cool.
Mhm.
I'm curious, what does it take to cultivate that silence that enables the self-listening? Because for me, I've spent so many years as an entrepreneur, and it's always about consumption and creation and action and activity.
Mhm.
And I took a course last year about embodied intuition, and it was a week-long challenge, and they were just like, cultivate a space, light a candle once a day, and just listen. And when you say cultivate that self-listening practice, it is to your body and what your body is craving. But I find my mind so rambunctious and resilient is very
Mhm.
loud. So how, and I
Yeah.
imagine as an academic, you probably started that way also.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my favorite quotes from the Dalai Lama, it's in a book called First We Make the Beast Beautiful. It's also a great book about wellness as like an approach to life and mindfulness and healthful eating and mental illness. And it's a great book. Sarah Wilson is the author, and she was one of the first people that showed up when I said I did take 2 of life, and I just kind of started asking, what do I need to know? She showed up, and she's a huge proponent of meditation. And her approach is 5 or 10 minutes on your timer on your phone every day. Like most of us can do 5 minutes. It's like when we start looking at 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 20 minutes twice a day, that we go like, that's too much. But 5 minutes, like most of us can do that. And so in this book, she's addressing your exact question of what the fuck do I do with this mind that I can't quiet? And she quotes the Dalai Lama, who she interviewed personally, and he says, he's like, what even makes you think that I have a quiet mind? He's like, it's hopeless. He goes, it's hopeless. He goes, give up trying for that. He goes, forget that. Like, you don't even worry about it. And when I read that, I was like, oh, okay, like, great. Guess I don't have to worry about that one. It's like back to this Buckminster Fuller thing of like, if we try to fight and change and go upstream, right, from what's there, it's like, we're never going to work. It's just like, okay, there I am thinking a bunch. Just let it happen. Or, like the other thing I have with that too is that you don't, with this self-listening, this one is, it's different, because I would say what I'm introducing here is more of a combination of a masculine and a feminine practice, but move your body while you're doing that listening process too, right? It's like, I'm not saying do silent meditation, seated, silent, still with your, with your mudras for 10 minutes, and then you're going to find what you want to do sexually. It's like, get present to your body, and it might require movement. Or if your mind is really loud, move and see what happens. So, mhm.
Like the ancient Hindus would say, you do your yoga before your meditation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah,
as your meditation, it sounds like.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that this is amazing. This has been so much fun.
Mm.
Um, I've got one more distinction to play with you.
Hmm.
And I know, do you have a couple minutes? Just double
Yeah.
check.
Hmm. Let me double check my calendar, but I think I can go. Yeah, I should go in about 5 minutes.
Perfect. So
Okay.
in Earthwaking, we talk about the five levels of consciousness. And everybody starts off with disorientation, plagued by trauma, stuck in the past, level one. Um, no hope of matching their life conditions to their ideal, their blueprint of what they think they need in order to be happy. And so in level one, you can hear people like, oh, getting lucky, getting laid, something happened. I'm so grateful, and no power, no control over creating sexual experience or fulfillment. Then there's level two, which is this very macho, masculine seduction community style, the game, pickup artistry. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
the goal is to create sex, and I'm going to do whatever I must to fulfill my blueprint because someday, maybe if I get laid or if I cause this thing to happen, I'll be sexually satisfied. And like, you observe this. I mean, it doesn't work out that way. I can say because my possibility out of the advanced course was the possibility of being Casanova, and I traveled halfway across the country in order to fulfill that.
I love it.
And I had
Are you
adventures, and it
serious
was
or
cool.
that's
It
a
was
joke?
absolutely serious. It was also the possibility of being a landmark forum leader, which came out of my mouth 30 seconds later. So it was this weird contradiction. Um, but yeah, and I can honestly say, like I fulfilled that dream. Like I had adventures
Yeah,
unlike
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
unlike most men ever will, but it was not grounded in my integrated embodiment and my intuition. So we go from chasing some future in level two to level three, where it's like, oh, there is no blueprint. Everything's empty and meaningless, and it's empty and meaningless that it's empty and meaningless. So I can just choose to create whatever I choose in the moment and be okay with whatever is and be happy with whatever is. And this is kind of like the space of like sex, take it or leave it. and yet, like if you're completely free of everything, then what's the point of going on, right? So there must be desires, there must be something, which is where you and I come
Mm-hmm.
in, the realization that we're all one,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and contribution is valuable. So
Mm-hmm.
happiness is an inside job, and not everybody has access to that. Then we're here to be the lighthouses to bring it to the world. Level
Mm-hmm.
four, contribution oriented, making a difference,
Mm-hmm.
make the biggest difference you can. And I've experienced this too. Sex as a tool for the healing of my partner, and as if an energy was traversing me that I didn't necessarily intend, that I'm just sort of containing and observing. And then finally, the whole distinction was an acknowledgement, because where you're situating people is already in that level five. Like you can't see the picture while you're inside of it. And if you're tuning out the outside world, tuning into the highest version of you, being quiet, cultivating silence and spaciousness around hearing that guidance, then sexuality, fully flowered, bloomed, and blossomed, can become a vehicle for the highest and best good, intuitively guided, of the world. And it
Yeah.
it it contains all these other levels, but doesn't get stuck in them. Any
Mm-hmm.
final reflections on this before we jump off? I know time is.
Mm. Ah. Wow, so much there. The first thing that came up for me is just like this real anchor point that I have of like, may this be for the highest good of me and for the highest good of all, right? And and really like living that and walking with that as like, this has to be for my highest good, but it also has to be for the highest good of all. And it's, those two are not in opposition. Like they must go together. They must go hand in hand. And um it seems like in the world historically up to now, it was like well, either one or the other, right? Either focus on your highest good and make to the top of the ladder and do the Casanova thing, or highest good of all, Mother Teresa, no sex, don't meet your needs, be poor, blah, blah, right? And it's like when those two come together, I think there's something really important there for what it's going to take next. And yeah, just this presencing that we all come from sex, like we all come from sex, and it is this origin point for all of us. And it, if it's that important to bring us into being, like, why wouldn't we also consider it to be that important throughout the course of our whole life, right? So
It's continually bringing our being into being.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, this has been so lovely, so amazing. Where can people find you if they want more of
Mm-hmm.
what they've just experienced?
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram. It's Liv Love Tantra. I also keep people regularly updated through my website, which is oliviapavlov.com. And I don't know exactly when this is going out, but most of the time I'm available for coaching one-on-one. And I can work with people here in Austin or over Zoom. So if you've heard me here and you'd like to work together, you want some of that support that I've referenced, I would love to support you in your journey.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for listening. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, comment below, share this with your grandma. All right. Thank you again and have a beautiful day.